Today I'm going to be talking about functional analysis, FAs versus functional behavior assessments, FBAs. My name is Ashley Danowski. I am a second year applied behavioral analysis master's candidate. I'm expected to graduate in the spring, hopefully. My experience is that I've worked in-home. I started out doing only in-home. And then I moved to a different clinic that was in clinic only. It was kind of set up like a school program. And I recently just switched over to a clinic, but it's kind of like a hybrid. They do clinic work with younger children. We do in-home therapy for teenagers. And we go to like assisted living programs, stuff like that for adults. So we work with the whole age range, which is something that I've always kind of been interested in. So I'm excited about that. I've been in the ABA field for like almost 3 years now. So yeah, and in the future after I graduate, I would like to ideally stay in clinic work, or I would like to work with like adults, teenagers, kind of in that transitioning phase. But definitely in a clinic, so that's what I like the most. First, we're going to be going over how do you know when to conduct an FBA. So typically, the IEP, the Individualized Education Plan team, determines if a student behavior is interfering with their learning or other people's learning, or if that behavior is socially significant. Then this is when they would say like, hey, we kind of need to figure out why this behavior is happening or what causes it. Aside from that, a parent can ask for one. Teachers, behavioral analysts can say, we kind of need to look into this behavior. So it typically is the team working with the client though that determines when an FBA is needed. So what constitute a problem behavior? So this would be a consistent issue. It's not typically socially acceptable. So if a parent's kind of annoyed that their kid bites their nails, well, it's annoying, but it's not socially significant. If they were like biting themselves and hurting themselves, yeah, we would step in and say like, okay, we need to figure out why this is going on and what we can do to stop it. But it has to be something that kind of hurts that client, other people, interferes with their living skills, learning skills, or other people's learning skills. So that is a problem behavior, something that interferes with someone's daily life. The next thing we're going to go over is an FA versus an FBA. So a functional analysis is a test. It's testing certain changes that can impact an occurrence of a behavior. So presenting that a stimulus or taking it away can present that problem behavior. Reasons for this we've learned are escape, attention, tangible objects, or sensory or self-soothing methods. Like somebody might hit themselves in the head if they're not getting the attention they want. Kind of like the functional analysis. So what's the function of the issue? You can use a functional analysis to as part of a functional behavioral assessment. But an FBA is a different way to learn about behavior. So that includes recording data, interviewing parents, teachers, other caregivers, maybe even the client themselves, observations, anything like that. So the behavioral assessment is kind of the whole thing. An analysis is part of it, but they are different things, but they do have a lot of similarities. Does my organization conduct FBAs, FAs, or both? So my company does both. It kind of just depends on the client, what kind of behaviors they're experiencing, or if who's asking to interfere with the behavior. So the parents say something, that's a very big factor. We're going to definitely address it. Schools, we work with schools, so if our client is having issues learning and is disrupting the class, then that's when we would step in and handle those. But it's not done on every client if they don't need one. Typically a lot of kids do kind of, but like an actual assessment You kind of need the signatures of the parents, and it can provoke more behaviors, which could harm the client. So there are a lot of factors that go into deciding if a client actually needs a full assessment. I didn't have an actual paper, but I did draw out like kind of a chart that we have used before. They just put the date at the top, the student's name, the observer, so the teacher, RBT, whoever's taking data on that child, client, whatever. Then they would list what behavior is occurring. So if it was like hitting your head, they would write hitting self in head. And then we broke it up by the period. So there's 5 periods in a day. They would mark however we decide to record the data. If it's frequency, they would take tallies. If they want to add notes at the bottom, if something special occurred or did not occur, or they noticed something and want to take ABC data, then they can do that. This is just like a rough little doodle of a chart I've used before. It's pretty simple. So, the next question is when to use an FA over an FBA. You kind of can do them both next to each other, like together. An FA can be a component of an FBA. So if you suspect that escape is the function of a behavior, this client just wants to run away, you would use the functional analysis to manipulate that environment to prove your theory, which is the assessment. You're running an assessment to figure out why they're doing this behavior, what we can do to help them, and how we can make the situation better for them. So functional analysis is kind of, in my head, I see it as like the shorter version of a FBA, but you can definitely use it. I don't really see myself doing an FBA without an FA, but you could do an FA without an FBA. A lot of letters. So now I'm going to go over the steps of an FBA, or just like the general information of it. So in an FBA, a functional behavioral assessment, the BCBA could look over previous records of the client. They could have parent-staff meetings, or interviews. They could record their own data. They could have, there's like assessments that clients can take that you can ask, like, it's like a scale. It's called a motivational assessment scale. So that kind of gives you a good gauge on your client. Or direct observation is a really, really accurate one. You're looking with your own eyes, you're taking down the data, you're seeing what's going on, so you're getting that full effect of the behavior, what's happening before, after, what's provoking it or keeping it going. How long does a behavioral assessment take? It depends. The assessment itself could take 45 minutes to an hour and a half, but making that whole like process of it, like you have to get the parents' permission to run an FBA. You have to do it. You have to sit down, look at the data, previous records, stuff like that. So I would say like probably a week or 2 maybe, and you want to really, if you're running an FBA, you really want to make sure that you're getting your information correct. So it's not something that should be rushed ever. But it depends on the client, the behavior, everything else that goes along with working with other companies or clients, or if they're getting other help as well. And in conclusion, I do struggle a lot because I kind of confuse the two. They are similar, but I would like to know that if anyone has like super easy ways to like remember the difference like right off the top of their head, that would be interesting. I would love to know that, because sometimes I have to like use my brain power and figure out the difference, which is why I had note cards for this. But I haven't had a ton of experience with this, but I look forward to using it in the field and helping my potential clients. So I would like to learn more about how it's done in different settings, like at a school, for example, or in a clinic, at home. Like I just want to like see all of them side by side to see like if one environment is more productive and helpful for the client as opposed to another one. That's something I'm kind of interested in the more I've been reading about this. So thank you for listening.